Hello, welcome back to The Reading Mama. My name is Heather and I am mama to 8, all the way from infant all the way up to how old is she? 15? Yeah, 15. And yeah, we homeschool. It's hard to read, but I enjoy it, so I make time for it. This month was kind of a banner month, and so come back for another video where I wrap up October and share all the things I read in October because yeah, I checked out on the world a lot this month. But today I'm going to be sharing a book tag called Coffee and Books. Amy at Amy of Hearthridge tagged me, and I am so excited to share this tag with you because I'm going to do it fantasy edition. Fun fact is I am coming up on a year of being in this booktube community, and I'm loving it. Slowly developing kind of what I want to talk about, thinking about it. I'm really just falling in love with reading again and sharing what I read. So these aren't great book reviews, and I understand all that. They're not great videos, but I enjoy talking books and sharing with you and getting to know different people. Amy has followed me back when I had a blog for a while and everything. And so I have just really enjoyed getting to know her through these booktube community and a couple of other people here, and just slowly growing because that's what I want. I want to talk books with other people who love books, even if they're not the same books that we like. I like sharing about it. So today I'm going to do the Coffee and Books tag, which is going to be a fantasy edition. So I'm going to have some that are, we're going to call them adult. They are not spicy. I don't read spice. Okay, one is a borderline, but I don't do that. So by adult, I just mean a higher reading level. And then I have a YA and middle grade books because I have 8 kids. So I do a lot of pre-reading for them, and fantasy is kind of a lot of us really love fantasy. So I'm going to be sharing those. Some of them I have books for. Some of them I'm just going to pop a picture up here because, as you can see, my house is still not all put together and I have not unpacked all my books from our summer renovations. Maybe by Christmas we will have a whole house. So let's dive in. So the very first one is Black Coffee, and it's supposed to be a series that's hard to get into but has some diehard fans. So for my adult recommendation, I would say Brandon Sanderson, because my goodness, those Cosmere people they're serious. They are die-hard fans. This is like Trekkie. I mean, this is, yeah, otherworldly. Preternaturally, if you want. They love the Cosmere. And I understand why. I've finally dove in with my first one and I'm loving it. Can't wait to find the box that has the rest of them so I can continue reading. But the Cosmere is die-hard fans, and basically, I don't know enough to give you a gist. I've only read Mistborn and Tress of the Emerald Sea, and that's just like dipping your toe into the Cosmere. And so I hope to come back and share more about that with you. But I'm enjoying Sanderson and his writing. I really do love it. Very fantasy. I don't know. It's just written. The characters are so well written. That's the key, is the characters are amazing. Sure, the setting and the plot and all that is great, but the characters, wow, you're just like, I love them all. Even the villain. I mean, it's just great. If I was going to recommend a youth fantasy series that is diehard fans but hard for people to get into, The Baby Is Not Being Tortured, I promise you, it's just, she just is tired. Would be Madeline L'Engle. Madeline L'Engle's Wrinkle in Time series. It's very hard to get into. It's weird. It's just out there. There's a lot of richness to it, and I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface, and I've read it twice. It is amazing. The movie doesn't do it justice, but A Wrinkle in Time series has some pretty diehard fans, as does Madeline L'Engle as a person. And so you would be hard pressed to get into that because it is very different. You follow some children and it's basically they're going into different dimensions and trying to save their father, and there's so much in it that I can't unpack it all for you. But yeah, that would be it. Next one is Peppermint Mocha. Name a book that gets more popular during the winter or festive season. So the obvious here is A Christmas Carol. I think Christmas Carol is hands down a wonderful Christmas fantasy. I'm sure there are probably more. My kids, I think, read a couple of Nutcracker ones last year that they really liked. But I love Christmas Carol, and I could read it every year. My kids have asked me to stop reading it out loud every year, but I love it. And following Scrooge and all those things, like just growing up with the Mickey Christmas Carol, kind of put that bug in me, and then reading the actual book as an adult, because I never read the actual book. I read the Mickey version when I was a kid, and I absolutely love it. I love all the richness that Dickens puts in there. I struggle with Dickens, but I love Christmas Carol, and just the concepts of your past and your present and your future, and how they all are connected to all those different concepts of character, concepts of, you know, the butterfly effect kind of. It's just wonderful. I love it. If I was going to do a youth fantasy Christmas book, I would say Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. And that's just, if you don't know what that is, pull up a rock. I don't know. The movie does a wonderful job on that one, actually. But Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe is a great option for a winter fantasy read aloud. Like I said, my kids read a couple Nutcracker ones last year, but I have not read them, so I can't say whether or not they're good. All right, next up is Hot Chocolate, your favorite children's book. So I don't know if that means like your favorite children's book right now, or your favorite book that you read as a child. I don't know. We're going to go both. So as a child, and probably still as an adult, I would love Arthurian Tales. Not necessarily this one. The Roger Lancelin Green, I think I did read this one. There's another one that's real popular that I read too, but I really just love any kind of Arthurian tale, which is funny because I'm trying to read Once and Future King and really struggling to get into it, which is another Arthurian tale. But I love Arthurian tales all the way around. No matter how you slice it, I like to compare them. I like to think of them. I even like the poem Lady of Shalott. I love anything to do with Camelot. And that's something I've loved since I was a kid. So there's that. And then for my kids, I don't have a copy here. My kids have them. But the Grace Lynn series, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, is phenomenal. And if I was gun to my head, favorite children's series, pick it right now, it would be Grace Lynn's Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. Because I could listen to that over and over and over. It is awesome. So I don't remember the exact premise, there's 3 books: Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, Story River of the Sea, and When the Sea Turns to Silver. Don't ask me which order they go in. I don't ever remember. They're amazing, phenomenal audiobooks also. But she has a plot line, and like I said, I can't remember them all. They're connected slightly, and basically they're quest stories. But woven within those quests, she plants these Chinese mythology that is just beautifully told. And like your hero sometimes is hearing the mythology for the first time, and sometimes it's the hero recalling the mythology, and it is so beautiful. I absolutely love it. We've read Grace Lynn's other books, but hands down, nothing compares to her Where the Mountain Meets the Moon series. It is phenomenal. Next up is Double Shot of Espresso. Name a book that kept you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. So, go a couple ways here. First up, and I could have grabbed this, I don't know where I put it, Mistborn. Like I said, I'm just dabbling into Sanderson, starting, and Mistborn was that. And I thought, this chunky book. I'm going to be like, and not be able to. It was so hard to put down because it's one of those that, like, once you pick it up, it takes you a couple minutes. You know, you read about 5 pages and then you're sucked in and you're like really angry when anybody interrupts you. I just absolutely loved Mistborn from start to finish. Who knew that it would have balls thrown in there? I really don't think I went into it prepared, and it was just phenomenal. The story of a ragtag group of thieves trying to overthrow the government. Let's put it that way. But there is just so many nuances, and like I said, the characters are phenomenal. The story is great. I don't even know where it's going to go from here, and I'm ecstatic. I was bawling at the end. It was just great. For a youth version of a books that keep you on the edge of the seat, there are so many, but I have a couple here. So one is Jennifer Nielsen's A False Prince series, or I think it's called like the Ascendant series or something like that. So Ascendance series, I don't know. Yeah, there it is, Ascendance trilogy. But in this you follow, I don't want to give things away. I don't know how to. Ooh, this is a hard one. Here, we'll just give you the tagline on the back. 4 boys, 1 treacherous plan, and an entire kingdom to fool. So I'll give you that, because you kind of have to get in the first few things where you get a lot of background information on one young man, and then something happens that changes it immensely for the rest of the series. So definitely love it. You could read just the first book, it'd be okay, but you're not going to want to because it's so amazingly written. You're going to want to keep going. Another book that keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire way through, for kids, Green Ember by Sam Smith. These books are phenomenal. I don't even know how many times we've read it as a family, nor how many times my kids have read it independently. As you can see, it's starting to get tattered on the edges. And I know a lot of kids, theirs look a lot worse, but my kids are pretty good with books. And so if it's starting to look like this, that means it's been read many, many times. I think as a family, we've probably, count up everybody who's read it, and every time we read it, it's close to 20. We love this series. You follow these two rabbits, Pickett and Heather. And yeah, it's a main character with my name. That doesn't happen very often. But they have their whole world turned upside down in the very beginning of the book. And they have to keep going as they're suddenly pulled into a world that they didn't know existed around them, with a lot of violence and other things going on. And I'm just doing this terribly. Sorry. Things happen where they're ousted out of what they thought was the normal into the real world. And there is violence, there is struggle, there's strife, and they're trying to figure out all the secrets and figure out this new world and find their place in it. Phenomenal, phenomenal series. We love it. There's a new one coming out about one of the characters. I don't know, is Homer in this one? Yeah, he is. So one of the side characters, he has a new book coming out. My kids are like chomping at the bits for it. It's like, it comes out in December, guys. Wait till December. But we're very excited with the Green Ember series. Also, I don't have it with me right now, but the Wing Feather Saga by Andrew Peterson, yeah, the musician, is phenomenal fantasy, Christian fantasy. You'll be crazy in love with it, because it is just, it's fast-paced, it's well-written, and it has a beautiful story that is not like overly handed, like, here's the scripture verse that you need to do, and it's not that kind of Christian. It is just amazing. But you follow the Igby children as they also realize that the world that they knew is not exactly the way the world is, and they have to come and arise above that and meet many challenges on the way to their destiny, to put it that way. So that was a phenomenal, keeps you on the edge of your seats. Let's move on. So the next one is Starbucks. Name a book that you see everywhere. So here, I put it over there. I have Hunger Games, because I don't really know where to put Hunger Games. Is it dystopian? I guess it's dystopian. Is dystopian fantasy? Is it science fiction? I don't know. We're gonna call it fantasy. But Hunger Games is everywhere. Especially with Sunrise and the Weeping coming out. Sunrise on the Reaping coming out. You see it everywhere, and it is phenomenal. Another one that is really, really good is for children would be Suzanne Collins' other book. And I don't necessarily see it everywhere. It's actually like The Secret that nobody knows about, but the Gregor series, and I think this is book 4. But Gregor the Overlander is a great fantasy series that should be seen everywhere, because it is perfect middle grade introduction to fantasy. A young boy finds out that there is an entire world underneath our world, and he falls into it. Oh yeah, there it is. It's book 2. He falls into it, and it's got the chosen one trope, and yeah, a lot happens. Very interesting. You've got rats, you've got people who can fly, you've got bats, all kinds of interesting and unique things. So highly recommend that. If I was gonna say a book that adults read that you see everywhere, I would say Lord of the Rings. Movies obviously have made that immensely popular. And also I think there's a TV show or something like that. And so Lord of the Rings you see everywhere. Savior trope again. But there's so much more than that, and I highly recommend Lord of the Rings, because I'd only seen the movies. I read the books as an adult and absolutely love them. They're really good. You might want to do them on audiobook if you're not a heavy reader, because Tolkien likes to describe things. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, the Hipster Coffee Shop. Give a book by an indie author a shout out. I got a couple of these for you. I don't know if they're technically indie or how that works out, but
What are you doing?
I'm doing a video
Why?
to tell people about books. So I have Wormwood Abbey and the Ormdale series. What is it? Secrets of Ormdale series. And so I have books 1, 2, and 3. I'm in the middle of 2. 2 is the one that got coffee on it this morning. Love it. Good, clean Christian writing. Written by a homeschool mama 9. So, already I'm like, ooh, interested. And it's all about dragons, as you can see. And basically this young girl, Edith here, finds out that her family is not what she thought it was. And she rises to the occasion to be a heroine, but very humble, and just, she has flaws. Yeah, let's put it that way. And I very much enjoyed it. I'm halfway through book 2, and obviously I loved it. I went ahead and bought book 3. Gonna buy them all because they're so enjoyable. Highly recommend it. And it's set in Victorian times. A lot of literary name drops, which is always fun in my opinion. And not a heavy romance or anything like that. Just good, clean fun in a fantasy world where there are dragons and the family of dragon keepers. Another indie book shout out, and again, I'm not sure if it's indie. And I've mentioned her before, but this would be for children. And that book anybody could read, Wormwood Abbey. This one is written for children, but it is phenomenal. And in light of the Louvre heist, I would be remiss to mention this. This also has a 3rd book that I haven't got yet, but I'm hoping to buy the kids for Christmas. Don't tell. And so, yes, Beneath the Swirling Skies and Between the Flowers and the Bones. And you follow it's by Karen, whatever her name is. And in this story, you follow this group of children who can, and there are adults too, who can travel into paintings basically. And through that, they have the restorationists who try to restore the paintings, make them back to what they are. And then you have the, I don't remember what they're called, distortionists. The distortionists go through and damage them to manipulate people's feelings and to subvert, kind of Inception like, people's opinions and things in the world. And the restorationists go back and erase that and fight it and all that. Anyways, and you're following these children. You have a villain who is in here, and I will fight the urge to tell you who the villain is because it's exciting. And you follow their stories. But what's really amazing about these is you've got a lot of art that's going on as they travel through the art. Obviously, this one is Vincent van Gogh. This one follows Georgia O'Keeffe mostly. But they also talk about other artists as well, and it talks about the art. It has a list of art prints at the end. My kids really went and looked them up and dove into that and really enjoyed learning about the different art, and some of them they were familiar with. But the story is great. The characters are great. You have family dynamics that are just different. And I appreciate that. They have adoption in there. There's homeschool, there's public school, there's just a lot going on. Trigger warning, there is kidnapping, okay? There is kidnapping in the very first book. You need to know that if that is something that's going to be concerning to you or your children. But otherwise, my kids have loved these. We've devoured them. We've read it multiple times. Those are some of the indie authors I think I have. Then, let's see here. Oops, I accidentally got decaf. Name a book that you were expecting more from. I feel like there could be several in that category, but I'm gonna mention one a duology that I just finished, which was Mortal Queens and Lethal Kings by Victoria McComb. I really enjoyed those books, which is interesting because I don't really like fairy stories, but there was some lacking, I felt. So it is what it is. Basically, there is the Mortal Kingdom and the Fae Kingdom, and the Fae Kingdom comes once a year to take a young girl from the Mortal Kingdom to be their Mortal Queen for the next 2 years in their kingdom. But you find out that the Mortal Queens, something happens to the Mortal Queens, and it is not great. And so after that 2-year reign, and so you follow Thea, who is trying to stop that thing from happening after 2 years, and you learn a lot of things along the way. A lot of it was what does it say you were expecting more from? Because I felt like a lot of it was predictable, but it was written in such a way that was enjoyable, and I wanted to keep reading. I didn't feel like I needed to DNF it. I did have to take breaks from it though, because it was too predictable in certain places, and also it felt kind of rushed in certain areas. Like maybe this could have been thought out and written a little bit different. And some of the main romance relationship, which is not a romance novel, that's not the point, but I feel like it could have been better handled. It wasn't great. Overall though, I still enjoyed it and loved the book and would read it again. Well, maybe I wouldn't read it again this year, maybe in the distant future. But it just wasn't quite, I don't know, I was hoping for a little bit more, but I did enjoy it overall. Perfect Blend. Name a book series that was both bitter and sweet, but ultimately satisfying. All right, well, I'm going to put this here. I know it's more considered YA, but to me, it is way too intense to be YA. And that is the Amber and the Ashes series by somebody here. I devoured this year, and I loved it. It is amazing. It's a little more spicy than I would like in certain parts. Very gory, very violent. And yeah, what does it say? Bitter and sweet and ultimately satisfying. I don't know that you could call any part of it sweet, but it was just amazing. Very well thought out. You have, again, underdogs rising above power. You can see I like a certain kind of book. And lots of different things. This also had a lot of mythology and things that are not typical in books I read. I wouldn't give this to my kids. But I did enjoy the series. And as you follow, is it Leia? Yeah, Leia and Elias in this particular book, and then in the others, Helene, you see the different viewpoints, which is what I enjoyed. And it was very vastly different. And it wasn't I don't know, you expected them to fail, and you saw them fail multiple times, and it wasn't always like, woohoo, we failed, let's rise. No, it was like, we failed, and then we failed again, and then we failed again, and you're like thinking they're gonna die any second. And so I really did enjoy this. And so this is, what am I supposed to be doing? It's bittersweet, but ultimately satisfying. I really, really enjoyed that. Another book that I felt was kind of bittersweet, ultimately satisfying for kids, I would definitely put Wing Feather there. Bittersweet, definitely satisfying. Also, I feel like Princess Academy is. Here you have Shannon Howell, very great middle grade princess story. But all the girls, not all the girls, several of the girls are rounded up and basically sent to school to become the next princess, and then he's going to choose, and blah, 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 blah. It's like Bachelorette, but not creepy. And so, but there's some hardships and some heartbreaks in here that I felt were really good for a middle grade age, but very sweet, and just enjoyable all around. So, I can't say that for all of Shannon Howell's book. I like most of her books, but not all of them. And then the last one is an Irish pub song by the Rumjacks, whatever that means. But it's a book that is misunderstood. And so I have here, oh goodness, they're heavy, my fairy tale collection, because I feel like fairy tales are completely misunderstood. There are a lot of people who will not read fairy tales with their kids because they're violent, they're gory, they're witchcraft, they're whatever you want to call them. But I think that fairy tales have so much value. And I feel like there is, G.K. Chesterton has an article or speech that explains it much better than I will do. But the basic concept of teaching our children that...
I forgot letting me play with her.
Oh, you may play with her. Sorry. Fairy tales are so important because they teach our children that light will triumph dark. Now, if you have a fairy tale where the dark triumphs, then that's not a fairy tale for me, because the dark doesn't triumph. Fairy tales show that light triumphs, and I think it's Chesterton, or maybe it's Lewis, I don't know, one of them says that fairy tales don't teach children that there are dragons. The fairy tales teach children that there are dragons and they can be vanquished. They can be fought. There is right, there is wrong, there is good, there is evil. And they know that those things exist, but they give them hope. And so I love fairy tales. Andrew Lang's Blue Fairy Book, I haven't read his other fairy books, but I really did enjoy these. This English Fairy Tales, which is like a collection of them, I had one of my daughters read, and wow, they're violent. But they were good too. These Charles Perrault fairy tales were also phenomenal. I really enjoyed them, and it had several in it. If you don't know, so Andrew Lang is British, and English Fairy Tales obviously British. Charles Perrault was French, and they're wonderful. They do take different tones when they're from different countries. And then we have a Grimm's Fairy Tale. It got really creepy, so I stopped reading that a lot to the kids, but those were German. And it's just, some of that is cultural, and some of it is just, that's the way the story goes. And so I really do enjoy it. My kids really liked seeing the differences across cultures or different retellings of fairy tales. And now with this, there's a resurgence of retellings, and you see like Cinder which was a dystopian sci-fi series that goes through, the Lunar Chronicles is what it's called, that goes through all of the these different fairy tales in a very different way. There's a resurgence of that, but kids especially loved reading like Charles Perrault's Beauty and the Beast, and then reading the Blue Fairy book, and then reading Grimm version, and just seeing the difference between those, because it showed them not only the cultural aspect, but it showed that, okay, well, this isn't a true story, but it is a legend, a myth, a fable that has gone through time, and it has stood the test of time. And so that would be my misunderstood. Real quick, a couple other fairy tales are fantasy books that I recommend. Book Wanderers, yeah, a youth edition. I do love it. It does have some LGBTQ things in one of the later novels, if that is a concern for you. Very brief, not a big deal, but just so you know, really love it. They can travel through books. And again, trying to stop a villain, evil power. The Captive, or the Guardians of Ga'Hoole series by Catherine Lasky, amazing. You have owls this time, where you have you learn so much about owls, like a ridiculous amount about owls. Loved it. But it does start with, oops, sorry, someone was at the door. It starts with some owls who are captured. They're kidnapped or owl-napped and taken in, and yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but you will follow, if you go through the whole series, you're following a group that's trying to usurp a power, who's manipulating the different groups of owls. So very good. And then you would be remiss to skip Vern, which this isn't the most fantasy Vern. It was just the first Vern I grabbed off the shelf. But Jules Verne is a master of fantasy, but it is it is rich in some information. So if you are not a sciencey person, it may be hard for you, because this one, not so much. This is not even a fantasy one, really, other than he traveled in a balloon around the world in 80 days. But his other books, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and why can't I think of it? Journey to the Center of the Earth. Those are very fantasy and very almost sci-fi, because there's so much science in it. But I really enjoy those books, and they are wonderful if you love them. If you are struggling through them, try the audio version. Whenever you're finding a book that is really popular and people are recommending and you're struggling, try the audio version. It's almost always better. So anyways, that is my fantasy edition of Coffee and Books. Thank you for joining me. That was probably longer than it needed to be. If you want to join in, I will put all the questions or prompts down below so that you can do this as well. And thank you, Amy, for tagging me and for joining me for this journey through some fantasy books. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day.